Did you know that when you remove a top predator, the very earth beneath your feet throws a tantrum? It's not just about the food chain, it's about the planet's structural integrity literally falling apart. Meet the silent architects of our world. We usually think of nature's design as a slow process of tectonic plates and rain. But turns out, the planet is actually built with bites. When wolves disappear, rivers stop winding. When whales are gone, the ocean's chemical balance goes haywire. Welcome to the world of trophic cascades, where the laws of thermodynamics meet biology, and where a single missing predator can turn a lush valley into a geological disaster zone. Today, we're investigating why the food web is basically the duct tape holding the planet together. Let's dive in before the ground disappears again. Imagine you're building a house. You need bricks, mortar, and maybe a blueprint. But what if I told you the world's most impressive landscapes weren't built by hammers, but by teeth? Welcome to the physics of fear. In biology, we call this a trophic cascade. It's a top-down chain reaction where predators don't just eat prey, they literally sculpt the earth. You see, wolves don't just hunt, they create a landscape of fear. When wolves are absent, elk get lazy. They park themselves by the river, munching on every willow and aspen sprout in sight. That's what happens when you skip the apex predator. Without the threat of being chased, the elk overgraze, the banks erode, and the river turns into a muddy mess. But bring the wolves back, and the fear returns. The elk stop loitering in the valleys. The willows grow back, roots anchor the soil, and the river literally stops eroding. Nature's architecture relies on the bite. If you think wolves are the only ones rewriting the map, wait until you see how whales are literally fertilizing the air we breathe. But first, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the rest of this planetary breakdown. Now, let's move downstream to the master architects, beavers. When predators keep elk moving, riverbanks finally get a break from overgrazing. Willows and aspens recover, and their roots act like biological rebar, stitching the soil together. This stabilizes the banks, causing the river to narrow and deepen. It's a literal blueprint for life. As the water slows, these dam-building engineers turn raging torrents into calm, tiered ponds. The data is clear. Since the mid-90s, we've seen a massive, measurable drop in riverbank erosion. It's not just plants growing back, it's the very geology of the land changing its shape because of a few hungry mammals. If you think nature's engineering is wild, you'll want to see what happens when we remove these architects. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our deep dive into the missing link of forest collapse next week. Now, we dive from the riverbanks to the Pacific coast, where the real architecture happens beneath the waves. Meet the sea otter, the ocean's ultimate bouncer. When these fuzzy guardians are around, everything stays in balance. But if they vanish, the ecosystem turns into a chaotic buffet. Enter the sea urchins. Without otters to keep them in check, these spiky little bulldozers go on a hyperactive feeding frenzy, devouring the giant kelp forests until the landscape becomes an underwater desert. It's a total wreck. The kelp, which serves as the skyscrapers of the sea, gets chopped down at the base. It's not just a snack, it's an apocalypse. Without the kelp forest, the structure of the entire coastal habitat collapses, leaving nothing but bare rock and hungry roaming urchins. If you think the urchins are bad, wait until you see what happens when the sharks lose their appetite. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next stage. Think of kelp as the ocean's heavy-duty shock absorbers. These massive seaweed forests aren't just snacks for sea urchins, they are biomechanical dampeners. When massive waves slam into the coast, the kelp's flexible, rubbery structure acts like a giant physical brake, dissipating wave energy before it hits the shore. Without this buffer, coastal erosion would be an absolute nightmare. Plus, this isn't just about pretty coastlines. These forests are the cities for fish populations. No kelp means no nurseries, and no nurseries means the entire commercial fishing industry effectively goes broke. It's simple physics. If you destroy the structural engineers of the sea, the house of cards comes tumbling down. If you're wondering how the loss of these underwater forests hits your wallet, smash that like button and stick around, because we're about to decode the billion-dollar price tag of a collapsed ecosystem. Now, let's leave the coast and plunge into the deep blue, where the true heavy lifters reside. Meet the whales, the planet's largest, most magnificent biological elevators. You see, the ocean is a massive thermos, and life at the surface constantly craves a jumpstart. Down in the dark, lightless abyss, nutrients like iron and nitrogen are just sitting there, useless. That's where the whale pump kicks in. By feeding at depth and releasing waste at the surface, these giants defy thermodynamic stagnation. They are essentially recycling the ocean's basement. It's gross, sure, but it's pure gold for the ecosystem. Iron and nitrogen are the limiters of marine photosynthesis. Without this underwater fertilizing, the tiny plankton, the bedrock of our atmosphere, would simply starve. The whale isn't just swimming, it's fueling the lungs of the earth. It's amazing how much one giant can impact the entire globe. But there's a flip side to this engineering genius. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next part, we're looking at what happens when these biological pumps stop working. So, we've seen wolves fix rivers and otters protect kelp. But if you want the ultimate planetary thermostat, you have to look at whale poop. Yes, I'm serious. It's the secret weapon against climate change. When whales dive deep to feed and surface to breathe, they're effectively acting as biological elevators, bringing nitrogen and iron up from the dark depths. This creates massive blooms of phytoplankton. These tiny organisms are the real MVPs. They soak up CO2 and lock it away in the ocean floor when they die. Essentially, from the apex predator on land to the giants in the sea, these animals aren't just living on the planet, they are architecting it. They regulate the chemistry, the temperature, and the physical shape of our world. Nature has been running this carbon capture tech for millions of years, and honestly, it's doing a much better job than my empty jar. If you think the planet's engineering is as wild as a whale poop cycle, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got more chaotic breakdowns of nature's hidden mechanics coming your way. So, the next time you see an apex predator, don't just see a creature. See a landscape architect who's been drafting blueprints for millennia. By shifting prey and protecting the foundation, they turn chaos into climate-regulating masterpieces. Nature isn't built with bricks or mortar. It's held together by the sharp, decisive power of a bite. Remember, balance isn't a state of rest. It's a high-stakes performance art. Keep watching the ecosystem. And thanks for being part of the loop.